The novel's extra, Chapter 2. The world's greatest training institute boasted the state-of-the-art magic, science, and engineering. Cube. It was the name of a huge island located in the East Sea. This artificial island was twice the size of Yoyodo. In this huge area there were only about 5,000 hero cadets, of which 1,300 were first years, while 2,000 were non-combatants graduated 2 weeks ago. Elite cadets from all over the world gathered here, making it more competitive than before. In a way, the place was too harsh and dreary to be home to 17 and 19-year-olds. And starting from the second year, magicians who chose to become heroes would come from the National Magic University, so that was another 200-300 cadets. Furthermore, there was training instructors, cafeteria ladies, cleaners, recruiters visiting occasionally, government associates, engineers who did maintenance and operations, soldiers dispatched to security, doctors and researchers were taking care of cadets, convenience store workers who worked under Cube, and more. With all these people, about 50,000 people resided in Cube. Naturally, this place was a highly important hubbub where the attention of investors gathered. Given that my novel's setting was faithfully followed, Korea was a world power rivaling the United States. I seem to remember listing several reasons for it, but the more obvious reason was that I was Korean. In any case, Chundong was a member of the Cube, so he could be said to be an elite. But I didn't associate any story with Chundong, so Chundong's destiny should have been to live in areas detached from the main storyline. While he would not have lived the important and burdening life of the main character, he would probably have lived a comfortable, worry-free life. And that was the life I wanted too. Staring at the door to the classroom, I sighed. Novice. Veritas. Novice referred to first-year cadets, while Veritas was the name of the class. Simply put, I was in Year 1, Class 1. I knew what this class was. Shin Jo-hak, Kim Soho were in this class, and as cliques formed around them, many schemes, mostly started by Shin Jong-ho and his followers, would make the class rowdy. As a member of the class, I would most likely be swept in regardless of my will. Whew. After collecting my breath, I slowly and carefully opened the door. The interior was sleek, white with no sign of dust, and 3 long desks cated up. Where should I sit? I looked around the classroom and found Shin Jung-ho sitting on the farthest seat back, with his eyes closed and his hands in his pockets. He seemed imposing. Next to him was his childhood friend, Yu Young-ho, chattering. The two of them didn't pay any attention to me. Thank God. I sat down on the edge seat with the middle row. Like a proper extra, I looked straight ahead in a daze. There was no chalkboard, but a projection screen for holograms to be shown. Looking at it, I couldn't help but sigh. After going through high school and even mandatory military service, I couldn't believe I had to go back to school. There couldn't be a worse calamity. Cube's semester began in February. The outside was cold and the inside being warm naturally made me sleepy. Currently it was 8 a.m. Class began at 8:30. In truth, I didn't expect to arrive this early. Going from Seoul to Cube was quick using the portal, but I expected to get lost once I got here. However, there was something called the Cube bus, a bus that ran every 10 minutes around Cube that didn't exist in my original setting. Thinking about it now, it was a mistake on my part to make the main character walk around the huge campus all the time. Since the novel became a real world, it seemed like it was fixing plot holes on its own. Anyway, let's sleep a little. I don't want to think anymore. Closing my eyes, I dropped my head to the desk. Now! A thunderous shout woke me up. When I opened my eyes, the instructor was behind the podium. Today's the first day, so there won't be any special training, but I hope you all did your morning extra training. Training is never wrong, especially in the morning when mana density is high. Morning training? Oh right, there was something like that, a training ground that opened from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. I had hurriedly stuffed it into the story to give the leading characters an opportunity to meet. Now, let's start with self-introductions. I'm Kim So-hunk, the instructor in charge of in charge of you for all year. That name, I could vaguely recall it. My ranking point is 3,850, world rank 9,737. By the association's classification, I'd be a high intermediate rank, grade 5. The student's eyes lit up. It was understandable. There were around 2 million heroes in the world. Rank 9,737 meant he was very skilled. I think that's enough for my introduction. Kim Soy-huk seemed to have liked the student's reaction as the corner of his mouth curled into a grin. The first day you will feel special. You might not have slept due to the excitement or worry, or maybe you're feeling great about being able to improve yourself. Heh, maybe you're happy to see your crushes again. The cadets broke into small laughter, but the instructor froze his expression sternly. But Cube isn't the same as it was before, I promise you. There will be no time for relationships. In Cube, you will experience several real combat situations. Look forward to experiencing how fearful the real world is. His roguish smile sent a chill down my spine. Combat training. I had to take part in that too. Next, Cube is objective. The only indicator of your success will be your grade. Guilds will only look at your grade, thus we will grade you accurately and strictly. If you underperform, you will be held back. Statistically, less than half of Cube's cadets graduate without repeating a semester. Even then, you can only be held back for 2 years. Any more than that, and you'll be expelled. If you can't become a hero, you become an agent or a mercenary. I take it that's not what you want. After giving the students a scare, the instructor paused, scanned the students' faces. I can already see a few faces I'm familiar with. It was the same for me. Kim So-hook, Shin Jung-ko, Yu Yang-ho, Chae Nugen, Rachel, Yi Young-hai. These 6 were the important characters I could see at the first glance. Shin Jung-hak sat with Yu Ya-hong. Since Kim So-hook and Chae Nugen saw each other as rivals, they were distant. Princess Rachel sat alone, and Ya Young-hak sat behind Kim So. I repeat, at Cube you will need to confirm the things you learned until now and hone your skills to be used in battle. There will be no kind training here, remember that. With that, Kim So-hook announced. Now get ready, what's scheduled for today won't take long. The first task is a main weapon selection. Any weapon you can think of should be here. A main weapon was exactly what it sounded like. High-ranking heroes called their weapons treasured weapons, while weapons above a unique grade were given the title armaments. But I didn't know what my main weapon was. I knew nothing about Chungdung's past. Stand in front of the weapon you want. We'll supply you with the training weapons. But don't look down on them just because they're training weapons. Their market price is 5 million won. There are all sorts of weapons here, more than I could have ever imagined. Sword, spear, saber, dagger, rapier, halberd, greatsword, zulhander, bow, gun, whip, gauntlet, etc. The 100 students from Veritas class stood in front of the weapon they wanted. Choose carefully. Once you pick your main weapon, you won't be able to change it for at least 6 months. Sword and spear were obviously the most popular choice. Kim So-huk and Jin Jung-hak stood in front of a sword and spear respectively. 70 out of 100 chose the sword, spear, or saber, the so-called holy trinity of weapons. On the other hand, Yu Ying-ho chose the whip. Chae Nugen chose the bow and Rachel chose the rapier. However, I simply stood in a daze. Kim Chungdung, why are you standing still? Kim So-huk asked. I stared blankly at the weapon. No one gave a glance. The weapon of choice in a modern world, one that didn't require an instruction manual, and one that could be used with a click. But in this world, this weapon was the weakest lump of metal. A weapon avoided by every hero. Most likely it was only here for the sake of having all kinds of weapons be here. But this was the only choice I had. I couldn't use any close-range weapon. Even if Chungdung was challenged in one, I didn't want to participate in close-range combat, where blood splattered everywhere. Kim Chungdung. The instructor's voice fell low, and other students' gazes fell on me. Shin Jung-hak and Kim So-hook were among them. I didn't like being the center of attention. I quickly walked up and grabbed the weapon. I could feel the weight of the metal in my hand, as the smell of rust tickled my nose. More eyes fell on me. The weapon in my hand was a handgun.